Do you think the Terminus Easter egg is possible with only a knife? Well, to tell you the truth, I don't even know, so today we're gonna jump into a game, get a fully upgraded knife, and try out the Easter egg. There's some obvious problems to this, like how am I gonna deal with the boss fight when he's just sitting in the water, but we'll just figure that out when we get there. So while I'm creating my loadout, here's the rules for this challenge. First, I'm allowed to shoot guns as long as I'm not dealing any damage to the zombies, and that's just because the Easter egg would be physically impossible without that. But that's it, so here we are in round 1 in the spawn room, and for my field upgrade I decided to pick Aether Shroud just because it's really good for getting out of sticky situations, which we're probably going to be getting in a lot of because we only have a knife. And also some of the augments it has, like Void Sheath, is just perfect. But anyway, the low rounds even with this challenge is still super easy because I think you can get hit around 10 times or something, and when you're one-tapping the zombies, you can't really die. But I knew it was going to pick up fast, and it sure did because on round 4, my knife stopped one-hitting. So it was clear that I should probably upgrade my knife soon, but even that's harder because for some reason Treyarch thought it was a good idea to only get 105 points per melee kill, which is literally less than a headshot. And obviously I can't equip a suppressor to get more salvage, so I'm just going to be more broke on both points and salvage this game. As if using just a knife isn't already hard enough. But I continued on to the final generator, which I activated on a bug round, which might seem a good thing because bugs are generally easier to kill, but in this challenge bugs are probably the most annoying enemy you can possibly fight. And that's just because whenever I went and tried to jump and knife them, they would simply just dodge the knife and I would have to chase them around. After spending probably minutes on this round, and it's literally just round 6, I finally killed the last one. Now, it was all just about saving up for Pack-a-Punch so that I can finally one knife again, and I know that there's a free double points that I can get, but I was saving it for something later on. Even when I had enough to Pack-a-Punch, I decided to buy Melee Macchiato instead, and that's just because this perk for this challenge is, it's perfect. Now, a lot of people think this perk is really bad, but honestly, it's kind of underrated. People usually just associate it with the little Kung Fu effect that you get, and that effect is honestly really bad because it's just way too slow, and if you use it on like any round past 20, then you're just gonna die. But if you pull out your knife with this perk, then you still get a huge damage boost, and that can even scale up more with the rarity of your knife and how many times it's Pack-a-Punch and things like that. And not only that, but it also gives you a big damage boost against bosses, so you can often like one-tap manglers with your knife, which is kind of the solution to the problem that this game just spawns so many of them. But with that aside, the first step of the Easter egg is to start building the beam smasher, so I put dead wire on my XM4 and shot all the electricity boxes. And this is only part of the reason why the rule exists that I can shoot my gun too. Now with that done, I ran in the laboratory, grabbed the keycard, and then I went to the suitcase, and surprisingly, I was actually kind of worried about this step, simply because of the amount of vermin that spawns in. In a regular game, this step is super easy because you can just shoot all the vermin and quickly move on. But if any of you were camo grinding for your melee weapons or something and playing on Liberty Falls, then you know that these vermin against melee can absolutely destroy you. Especially with the recent buff they did that now the vermins can do way more damage against you, and even on high rounds, I believe they can one-tap if you don't have armor. But killing all the vermin was actually really easy, and that's mostly because of something that I haven't told you guys yet. And this thing is an absolute lifesaver because without it, I'm not even sure I would have even made it this far in the Easter egg. And what that thing is the Melee Macchiato Augment Vampiric Extraction, which is just when you hit a zombie, you don't even have to kill it. But when you hit it, you instantly get 30 health. So that means you can kind of just spam your knife even in a horde of zombies, and even though you won't be regenerating because you're constantly getting hit, but you'll be getting health from this augment. So on the lower rounds when the zombies aren't doing that much damage, you can do whatever you want with this knife, just knifing entire hordes, and you'll probably be okay. Moving on though, now with that step done, I turned on the rest of the laptops around the map, and I also picked up stamina because that was going to be pretty important. With all the laptops turned on, it was now time for the worst step, which is the math step. Now I don't know how to do it, so I just paid Peck 5,000 points and moved on because I didn't really want to deal with it.
Look, watch out, 2's right here, right here. No.
The sad part is once I actually went to put in the code that I literally paid to get, I got it wrong. And I guess when I was just running the computer, I forgot the code, so maybe my brain is just fried, I don't know. But the key is perseverance, and I got the code right on my second try. Now that I escaped the math step, it was time for the one with the orb, so I decided to pick up Quick Revive because this can usually be pretty hectic even with a gun, so I didn't really know what to expect with just a knife. The first one was really easy, and the second one even was also pretty easy, which was kind of surprising. And then on my way to the third one, I was able to pick up this treasure chest which had a refined Ethereum crystal which instantly gives you pack 2 for free, so this one wasn't even a problem either. And finally, I ran back into the laboratory to craft the beam smasher, and just so you know, in this spot you always want to be careful when you're crafting it because the zombie spawns in there are ridiculously fast. But on to the next step. This is another reason why the rule exists that I'm allowed to shoot, because we need to shoot at the tentacle trap to get the key card out of it with our beam smasher. I know there's a way you can tell which tentacle trap actually has the key card, but I don't know what it is, so I kind of just went around the map and shot at each and every single one of them until I eventually got the right one. And of course, the one that actually had the key card was the very last one, so that definitely hurt my points a little bit. But that's okay, because by this point I had just about everything I needed, and I was now ready to move on to the Nathan boss fight, which I was worried about. As you can see, the main struggle of the knife is obviously clearing out hordes, because you can only kill one zombie at a time and it takes forever. And in the Nathan boss fight, there's going to be non-stop zombie spawns, and also I don't know how strong Nathan is actually going to be to the knife. Once I started it, this guy just casually strolled out of his little containment chamber, and I realized that I was doing barely any damage. Whenever he grabbed me, which does a huge amount of damage by the way, I would try to just quickly get a few hits on him, but it seems like he was healing somehow, and I didn't even know he could do that at the time. And this is the point that I remember Napalm Burst does a bunch of extra damage against bosses, so I quickly got that even during the middle of the fight. I couldn't even use the new upgrade before he grabbed me again. And I quickly noticed that the Napalm Burst wasn't even doing extra damage against him, so I guess I was just in it for the long haul, and I just had to hope that he couldn't out-heal my damage. I then had the idea to use Aether Shroud and just sheerly focus on him, and because I had two, I was actually able to do a bunch of damage against him, and he couldn't heal because he couldn't grab onto me to actually heal. It would have been real nice if I could have just finished him off there, but of course it wasn't going to be that simple. It was now all about just playing it safe and taking it slow, which I definitely wasn't doing. I'm honestly not sure how this parasite directly above me didn't hit me when I was on 5 HP, but you know what, I'm not complaining. This guy went from being super low to back up to above half HP again, and at this point I was kind of considering, is there anything I could even do? And I think the way I started actually doing damage to him before he could heal back up is because sometimes he would grab onto me and he would kind of just let me go and not heal off of it, which I'm not sure why. And just because of that, I eventually got him down to 1 HP and now could finally finish him off.
Your try, Scud.
Now with that fight out of the way, I got straight back to work and jumped into the water for the key card. Next thing to do was head to the boat and start the lockdown, which I wasn't very worried about because it's just a little bit of zombies in there. Not nearly as hard as the Nathan boss fight, and that's partly because when you pick up the node connector, Treyarch wants you to just walk around, but if you just drop it as soon as you start the lockdown, then you can run around as normal again. Once I was done with the lockdown, I tried something new, which was dropping the node connector on the boat so I could try to carry both at the same time, but when I actually clicked the drop button, it said I couldn't drop it anymore, so I thought I did, but when I looked around, it wasn't there. I honestly thought I glitched out my game and I couldn't even do the Easter egg anymore, but when I jumped back in the boat, I realized it was just still on my back. And whenever I parked my boat to actually put the node connector in the little slot, the zombies would just run away from me for a second, which made it really easy. I had to survive in the spawn room for a second because they weren't giving me the hacking device or whatever it's called for the longest time, and it actually gets a little scary in here just because of how fast the spawns are and how many there is. Luckily there's a perfectly placed trap which I was able to activate and kill most of the zombies. And just as the new round was starting, they finally gave it to me. I had to go out in the ocean and do the hacking the satellite step on a bug ground, which if you don't know, when you approach the satellites, a bunch of bugs already spawn by default, so now there's going to be like 1,000,000 bugs. And if you remember what I said earlier about the bugs against the knife, this was going to get really annoying super quick, especially because I have to be in the ocean. One thing that was really nice though, and I didn't even know about, is when you finish hacking the signal, then it kills everything within a small radius of you, so that helped a lot. Partly because of that, this step actually wasn't too bad. But now it was time for what I would say is probably the hardest step in the whole Easter egg, which is of course the bomb step. I wanted to be prepared as physically possible, so before the step even started, I was standing directly in front of the door with the bomb. That didn't even really help though, because this door takes forever to open, and then once it opens, the bomb actually has to come out of the little thing that it's in. And by the time that was done, most of the zombies were already spawned into the map. But before I even started this game, I made sure to put decoys on specifically for this step because they help a lot. In fact, they help so much that with just one decoy grenade, I was able to finish this entire bomb and there was only 2 more to go. Now, I have no more decoy grenades for the next 2, but I have 1 Aether Shroud, and I also know a trick that makes this step way easier. And that is the fact that on solo, you don't even have to finish defusing the current bomb you're working on, because when you get off it, it'll actually save its progress. On co-op, it doesn't work like that because if you get off the bomb, I'm pretty sure it just completely resets. So basically, I just defused both the bombs halfway, and then I kind of ran around a bit to get the zombies away from me, and then I went and did the other half, and that step was already done just like that, and now we were ready for the boss fight. I somehow managed to finish the Easter egg on round 18, which is the lowest I've ever been able to do it, but I wasn't going to go into the boss fight yet because I still want to upgrade my knife. And in order to make this process a bit quicker, I even used the free double points that I saved from earlier on to kill a bunch of zombies. This allowed me to get tier 3 pack-a-punch on my knife and upgrade it to purple, but I was so far off from legendary that I think that would have made me pass way too many rounds, and I honestly didn't think it was worth it. And that's why I made the decision to just go in the boss fight with a purple knife. Now it's time for the moment of truth of can I even attack him with the knife. This could have been honestly all for nothing. I tried to run up to his shoulder to attack him, but he instantly moved to the other side, which was the side I was standing on, and this is just what he does whenever you run on the side platforms. So automatically that means I can't attack his shoulders, and I need to try to figure out something else I can do. There was only one more idea that I had, and I didn't really like the sound of it, but I decided to try it anyway. I guess I'm just gonna jump in the water and go after him. Here we go. Can I attack him, please? No? I don't think I can attack him. Really? I wasn't far enough from that attack? I thought I was good. Yeah, there is no way. I'm literally inside and knifing him and I'm doing no damage. As you can tell, things weren't looking the best, but eventually I got up against his shoulder and it kind of was glitching me out and I was actually able to hit him. Now, as you can see, this barely even chipped his HP, but if that's what it took, then I was willing to try and complete it like this. I figured out that there's certain ways you kind of have to swim in the water and there's a distance you have to be from him, so you can't actually be inside him and knife, but you kind of need to be a little bit away from him and knife, and that actually does damage. This was huge to learn because now I could actually do a decent bit of damage against him. But still, when you're in the water attacking him, you're going to take a lot of damage to the gas, and also the zombies will be throwing things at you, which leads to very close calls like this right here. And it doesn't help that the zombies stand directly above the ladders when they're going to throw things at you. I'd say I was probably doing this for around 5 minutes and I've done this much HP, which as you can see is not very good, but it was kind of working. But I'm thankful it was working at all because it definitely wouldn't if you didn't get the vampiric extraction from your melee macchiato, which almost allows you to out-heal the gas in the water. You do eventually have to leave though because the zombies stack up and do a lot of damage. And it was harder for me to replenish my health after that much damage because I lost quick revive when I died. I kind of got into cycles where it was different stages of this boss fight where every time he would pop out of the water, I would quickly jump in. Of course, when I was like high HP or else I would just die. I got a few hits on him and then I instantly climbed out before there were too many zombies and I would die. Sometimes though, he would go to the other sides of the arena, which I still kind of did this, but it was a little bit harder because there weren't multiple ladders to choose from. All you can really do when you're attacking at him when he's on a side is go to the ladder directly behind you or else you'll die in the water. And if there's an entire horde of zombies standing on top of that ladder, then, well, it's over. That is exactly what happened in this situation, but I was lucky enough to be able to pop Aether Shroud instantly as soon as I got up the ladder and I got away. Unfortunately, I wasn't so lucky this time because as soon as I climbed to the top, the zombies slapped me and they were even throwing things at me while I was climbing up the ladder, which got me really low. I got really lucky right here because I kept melee macchiato, which means I still had a chance to win. One thing that absolutely saved me too is I was able to easily kill all the zombies when I wasn't trying to attack the boss, just to kind of farm their armor and get max armor basically all the time. After repeating this cycle over and over again, I eventually did enough damage to get him into his second phase. During this phase, he kind of gets this molten armor, and I was doing significantly less damage to him now. And I also think his hitbox was kind of weird in this phase because as you can see here, I'm hitting him. Maybe I was too close or something, I'm not entirely sure. But because I'm not hitting him there, I'm not getting the health from my melee macchiato, and that unfortunately led to my death. But now that I know that the boss fight looked actually possible, I made some changes to my augments and things and jumped straight into another game. You might remember last game how I only had a purple knife, but this time I was fully prepared with a legendary tier 3 knife, and I also had a chopper gunner this time, which does a decent bit of damage against him. Not only that, but I also came in with gobblegums, main one being a perkaholic, but I also had a killjoy and a shields up. I realized as soon as I entered the boss fight that the legendary knife was doing way more damage than the purple one. But even with that, only a few minutes after the fight started, I was really confused because when I was trying to go up this ladder, I got stuck and then I just instantly got my dying wish activated. But after a little bit, I realized it's because for some reason you can't climb up the ladder when he's gonna slam down. So if I ever got stuck on that ladder, I would just need to quickly swim to the adjacent one. I was mainly just following the same strategy I did before and I got into the second stage again. And because of his sort of armor in this phase where it absorbs so much more damage, I tried to get more greedy on the amount of hits I get, and it led to things like this.
I guess this is the ultimate ghillie suit.
I was really mad after that death because I felt it was so dumb with the ladder just blocking me off, but I was able to get all my perks back with a perkaholic, which also meant an extra life because my quick revive meant another dying wish. Sadly, that didn't last for long because only about a minute later, my dying wish got activated again. I was back on 0 lives again, but he was around half HP, so I felt I could do it. There was more close calls than I could even count, but I was usually able to climb up the ladder and the zombies would just kind of let me and not throw anything at me. He was actually getting really low, but that's when my Wi-Fi decided to completely bail out on me. After I gave myself some time to think about all that I just went through and even popped the perkaholic just to die, I realized that I probably could have won if I had just used my chopper gunner, which I forgot about. You see, after I failed there, I gave it some time and tried again. This time I actually used my chopper gunner and I realized the amount of damage that it does. If I had to estimate, I'd say it does around 2/5 of his health bar, and as you can see, when I died, that's about what he had left. And if you're curious, the attempt with the chopper gunner did not go well. And honestly, I don't think I have it in me to try this again, so if one of you guys can complete the full Terminus Easter egg and the boss fight with just the knife, then record it and send me the footage and I'll make a video on it. But with all that said, this is going to be the video. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.